Oh. All right, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Prop Tech Genius Show. And today's genius is Douglas Newell. Hey, Doug, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for the
Ah,
compliment.
you're welcome. We compliment people when they come on our show. We call them geniuses and stuff. It's awesome.
Okay.
You can take it. You can take it for the next hour as we talk through stuff. It'll be great. Very,
Okay.
very cool. Very cool. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and
Okay, let's
what
see.
you do?
I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my latest company is called Swarmalytics. It is focused on bringing artificial intelligence into the real estate prop tech space.
Awesome.
Um, Despite the fact that real estate is a $7 trillion industry, I think, in the United States, AI really hasn't made much of a penetration.
Hmm.
And I've given it some considerable thought because the people I've met are all at least as smart or smarter than others I've met in other industries. I think it's because real estate is so fragmented.
Hmm.
I That dawned on me when I put together a list of all of the residential builders who build more than 50 houses a year.
Hmm.
There are 2,600 companies that build more than 50 houses a year. Each one of those companies has their own little silo of information, and it doesn't get shared anywhere.
Right.
And that is the best information to drive AI
Hmm.
is what the builders have. But since it's sitting in their silos and not getting shared, AI really hasn't taken off. I think
Sure.
Lennar does some AI. They're very proud of it. Every time they go on with their investors, they're bragging about the Lennar engine and how it does this and that and the other thing for them. And they should be proud of it. I mean, they are an innovator in that front. But in any case, what Swarmalytics is doing is we're going to try to reverse this. We're going to try to introduce AI across most or all of the real estate space, starting with residential construction. I was at a conference on the 11th in New York on AI in real estate, and there we announced that we're putting together a builders consortium.
Hmm.
So the idea here is that a builder could pour their data into a secure place. They don't have to
Hmm.
worry about it popping up or coming back to bite them in any way. They pour their data in, we make it super secret and so forth, and we add our own data and we give them the output of AI. So, for example, one of those outputs can be um, which properties in the United States are most likely to be turned into residential communities. We have scored every property in the United States as to its likelihood of being turned into residential. And
Mm.
I can't remember how many millions or tens of millions of properties that is, but that's one of the joys of AI, that it can
Right.
take in thousands of factors and score things as fast as you want. And we can therefore take into consideration, okay, here's a property and here is the growth rate in the
Hmm.
population around there. Here's how many acres it is. Here's the elevation. Ooh, it's too steep. Throw that one out. Oh, this one's flatter. That's better. We know how many trees there are on the property and the how good the view is. And again, we're data junkies. We bring 10,000 pieces to bear and run it through our little equations and outcomes a ranking that says, well, if you're shopping for properties and you want to put a 100-unit development on here, start here, go down, and so forth. So we do things like that.
That's
Uh,
awesome. And where are
an-
you getting it? Where are you getting your data from?
uh, We get it from all over the place. A lot of the data is sort of homemade in that we got basic data uh, from the government called the Tiger files. And from the Tiger files, we're able to calculate like the distance from everything to everything.
Hmm.
And the old saying in real estate, it's location, location, location.
Right.
Well, just three of our variables that come to mind: distance to the nearest toxic waste dump. That's not good. Distance to the nearest golf course. Yeah, okay. Distance to the nearest lake and so forth.
Mm,
So all of that stuff, those three, we just calculated that we have, for all practical purposes, huge amounts of compute power here. And the computer's not doing anything. Why not put something in and create something new? So we've created these 10,000 variables. We've also gotten data besides from the government, which the government includes things like for every 10 meter by 10 meter piece of property in the United States, we have its altitude, and therefore we calculate the view from there.
okay.
So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then there's the commercially available data, which would include the sale history of a property
Mm-hmm.
and, beds and baths and square
Mm-hmm.
footage and all of that stuff. It's all just ingredients in our soup. And
Mm.
the AI chunks through it, throws away 99% of the data as irrelevant, and comes up with scoring equations that work pretty well.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Another area in besides finding land, builders seem to have problems or challenges pricing their final product. A number of builders use a cost plus basis.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't want to yell at them, but this is wrong. This is the wrong way to do it. Uh, Cost plus, if you're in a hot market, Phoenix is fairly, literally and figuratively hot. But in any case, if you're in a hot market, your properties are going to sell in a couple of days on a cost plus basis because you're leaving money on the table.
Right.
And if you're in a cold market, Bangor, Maine, literally and figuratively cold, um, you're going to be sitting on the houses forever waiting for them. Well, I wanted 30% plus my costs, and nobody's paying 30%. And you get into, sitting on them waiting, hoping that they sell, and eventually dropping your price to what it should have been after you've expended a lot of money on insurance and
Marketing and
maintenance
all.
and
Yeah.
marketing
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's sort of what we do. We gather up lots of data and put it to work in the real estate space um, to predict things. And
That's awesome. Very cool. Are you partnering with folks like Cherry or CoreLogic or anybody like that?
we've had conversations with CoreLogic. Charity, I'm watching. I can't decide whether they're a direct competitor or not. I'm impressed by them. They seem to be a sharp outfit. And matter of fact, I just got some communication from them in the last 3 or 4 days, I think. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
reading it. Yeah, cool,
Yeah.
cool bunch. Uh, and then there's others. There's Adam and there's First American and
Mm-hmm.
lots of sources of data. And then there are sources of data that are just sort of adjacent to the real estate space, the credit bureaus and so forth.
Sure.
Well, if you want to know which houses might be flipped, which is one of the things we do every month, we predict for every house in the US its likelihood of being flipped. Um, you might want some sort of geographic summary of credit data. You know,
Mm-hmm.
find people who could really use that money by selling the house and moving into an apartment or something. So
True.
anyway,
Yeah, no, that's
we
interesting.
do stuff like that too. But I'm
That's super
keeping my
cool.
fingers crossed on the um, consortium, the builders consortium.
Right.
I'm managing a mailing that's going out to the first 400 of those 2,600 builders, inviting them to join the consortium, and they'd have immediate access to things like the uh, finding the building places and the pricing and things like that. So,
Yeah, I know that. I mean, that's super cool. I mean, I guess similar concepts of what Max does, right? So it is, you got to get the owners and the builders to play ball. They have the data,
yes,
right? And you
exactly.
can, and if you can provide them with some value, then you can
Yes,
get the data, because the data is what's valuable, right? For sure, for
exactly.
sure.
That what I determined after, again, assembling like these 10,000 variables about every property, the best data is sitting in the hands of the builders. Uh, if I'm trying to predict the value of a house or something, knowing that it has imported Brazilian rosewood floors or something,
Hmm.
that's important, and that won't appear on any title or anything else. Only the builder knows some of those factors. I can tell you from previous work we've done, we've analyzed all of the MLS listings, and it popped up, and it's sort of intuitive. If the MLS listing has the magic word stainless in it, then that's a good thing. So
Okay.
people
Yes.
like stainless steel appliances, and if MLS has stainless in it, well, that's again an indication of something that the builder would know, the occupant knows, but nobody else would know. There's no public record of which appliances that they have, Sub-Zero appliances or something. So
Right, exactly. It might be in the listing if you can catch it, like if they
yes,
actually chose to sell it, and it
yep,
might be there, right? But a lot of builders don't list it publicly, like on the
ex
MLS, right? So you don't have it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why the consortium, it's a matter of building trust, I believe. If
Mm-hmm.
I were a builder, it's like, okay, you want access to my data. I'm not sure. First thing, there's the question of, do they keep their data in electronic form? Because if it's in a file cabinet in the basement or something,
Right.
I have no interest in. I'll pass on them and go on to the next builder. Um, so it's got to be in an electronic form, and they've got to have enough houses to sort of start doing something. I'm thinking that number is somewhere, if they build 20 to 50 houses a year, then they're probably of the size where they'd benefit from the AI, because I've got to deliver value to them, and they've got to deliver data and some membership money to me. So it's got to be a fair trade. And again, it's about building trust. And the first couple are going to be the hardest. And I recognize that, and we're pricing it accordingly. The first three to sign up, they get it for free. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, come on in. Yeah, there may be some bumps along the way, but you're paying nothing, and you're going to get sharp AI that can help you in your core business, and you can help direct what problems we solve with the AI, which ones are important to you. It might be that estimates are the most important thing to them. Okay, we can turn our talent and data on estimates for you. So anyway, the first ones will be the hardest, and then as we have a list of, here are 14 companies that are part of the consortium, then the 15th will be much easier.
For sure. I mean, it's interesting where your customers will take you, right? I mean, it'd be like,
Yes,
yeah,
and
because you
that's a
don't
good
know.
thing. That's
Yeah,
a
it
good
is a
thing,
good thing.
because some of the stuff we have something that sits on the builder's website and gathers up information and allows the builder to be interactive with their visitors. So if I've looked at that cape for 3 times in the last 4 days and so forth, we've got something that automatically, based upon AI, pops up and says, hey, We've got an agent that would like to show you the house, and by the way, buy you lunch and blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
we have that, and that's all triggered by what they've been doing on the site every moment. Um, and we don't ever get into collecting personal information, so we don't get creepy with it or anything. So we go and gather that up, and maybe that's irrelevant to builders. Maybe they farm it out to agents and they don't care or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, that's okay. We can go anywhere the
Right,
market takes us.
for sure.
Again, we
So,
started with residential, but I
yeah,
just got off the phone a half hour ago with a large commercial builder, and they were worried that we only did residential. And it's like, no,
yeah, no,
twist my
but
arm.
yeah, it's a different customer, but AI can solve lots of problems no matter what the data set is. So if you're just the AI application,
Yes,
right? Yeah, then you can solve lots of different problems, right? I
yes,
mean, it's
exactly.
yeah, I mean, that's the same for us, right? We'll eventually, we're using AI in the data capture part,
Hmm.
like using computer vision, using phones and drones, using AI to help us do the data capturing piece. But
Yes,
eventually we're going to have this really cool data set of all of these buildings, and eventually we will need AI to kind of
yes,
that's the next gen of the product. But right now, I'm just concerned about capturing the data, making sure the data is clean, the data quality is good. How do we keep it up to date? How do we maintain it? Because that's the true problem of commercial real estate owners not using the data, is because it's hard to collect and it's hard to maintain right now until
yep.
we can build out our system to make it easier.
Especially, I imagine your area is, older buildings. Yes.
It doesn't, no, doesn't really matter.
No. Okay.
Yeah, 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 because they don't know, nobody really truly tracks their buildings completely. They'll put, even on a class A office building, if they went and build it, they would put a BIM system on there, but their BIM system is probably only tracking their HVAC systems. They're
Okay.
not tracking, like if they update something, change out something, what if they went and changed all the door closers in the building, right? Well, now
Okay.
their blueprints are basically effectively
Okay.
not worthless, but they're out of date, right?
But
So,
isn't the builder, if you got the builder's accounts payable file, won't
mhm.
that have, 105 door closers at $112 each or something?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna know that data, but they don't keep it up to date in like a system. So
Oh,
that it all gets
yeah,
fragmented again. As soon as they start changing or updating something, their blueprints are out of date, their
yeah,
systems are out of date. So that's why our data twin is so helpful, because as you update something, change something, do whatever,
yep.
you can keep it up to date in a system, right? So now you're not reliant on paper documents anymore, or even Revit when they built it, because it was stagnant. You have something that living and
Yes,
changes with your building, right? So
yes.
yeah, yeah. So that's
I'd think that for insurance purposes, wouldn't
oh
that be
yeah,
a benefit?
oh yeah,
That the
yeah.
insurance companies should love you if you can say, hey, here are all the sort of
Yep.
assets in the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is a big insurance play in what we do, and we're talking with several of them. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And even we have a whole risk mitigation IoT package that we've kind of put together on the multifamily side and the senior
Mm.
housing, and just in housing in general side, where you can mitigate risk, pretty much almost eliminate it from a water leak perspective. The major calamities that happen besides floods and natural disasters are fires and water leaks, right? That cause
Mhm.
damage, right?
Mhm.
So the water leaks can be effectively turned into nothing, because you can sense when there's moisture there, and you can have a cutoff that will cut the water off. So basically it'll stop, minimize the damage
Yep.
once it recognizes what's happening. And then there's the largest fire calamity is usually either somebody smoking, right? Or you left a kitchen, the stove on. You left the stove on too long, and that causes a lot of the kitchen fires, are what
Yep.
cause the majority of the fires. Well, there's an IoT device out now that'll shut that off. They'll recognize that the stove's been on too long, and they'll cut it off. And so
So
there's a whole lot of technology coming out right now that
yep.
the insurance companies are going to be doing cartwheels. Just
Mm.
saying, because, but insurance is one of the major expenses, from a real estate investing standpoint that is just hurting everybody right now. So
Yeah.
it's tough for
So is
sure.
there an opportunity, uh, and maybe this is getting into too much depth, but is there an
No.
opportunity for you to bolt together some insurance thing with your thing and make your thing self-funding so that you're selling this to a building owner is sort of a no-brainer. It's like, okay,
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah. I
we'll
see what you're
we'll
saying.
we'll come in and do a new blueprint and here list all of the assets and blah blah blah, and we'll pay you $100 to do it or something, So it's like
Oh
paying
yeah.
me, holy cow,
Yeah, something, or they're gonna get rebates from their insurance company or discounts from the
Exactly,
insurance. Yeah, yeah. So
exactly.
I'm
So
you end up creating budget for them in
yes,
order to buy but they have to buy my software
yeah,
in order to get it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes, most definitely can totally happen for sure. Yeah.
that's cool.
And
That's
it's
cool.
in
Because
yeah, and
then the decision becomes, as you say, a no-brainer. It's like,
yeah,
of course I'm doing it. And it's like, then your problem is how to do it fast enough across all these buildings. And the
exactly.
whole AI thing becomes a second wave
It's
of value.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it does. And the only way I could do my company is if I had AI. There's just no other way it'd be too painstakingly horrible to capture all this data. And I know because back in 2020, I did it with paper and clipboards and it was awful. So I didn't use it. And so you have to use AI, especially if you're trying to scale, capture a lot of like the customers that we're capturing, like, the talking to different large institutions, they have a lot of property. And so
Yes,
you cannot escape the physical inspection. You have to physically go over there and do it. And whether it's phones and drones, you still have a person. You have to have people there because the phones and drones don't capture everything yet. So
oh,
you have to definitely, have people
what kinds of
accessible
things
to
don't
it.
phones and drones do? Carpeting or something?
No, they'll capture pretty much all of that. Condition assessments aren't the greatest, right? So we do condition assessments. So if
Uh,
the ACs, the components, the parts, like that kind of stuff, we'll
mhm.
capture not only what it is, where it is, geolocated. The drones can geolocate stuff a lot faster than a human can, right? And so that's
Yeah.
great. But just quality checking the data that comes
Mm.
in at the inspector while he's there is kind of doing that and seeing what it's collecting. Go, oh, okay, yeah, you missed this part of it. The serial number doesn't match up right, and you can get the system to kind of do it over time, and
Mhm.
it'll learn. But you want someone to go, oh, that AC. This says that it should have like 50% useful life, but this thing should be replaced. You want that and
Yep,
kind of assessment, right? To have done, and a human still needs to do that for sure.
I
So
see.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, no, I mean, so it's interesting, but it's cool to see what AI can do, and it's cool to see that you fully embraced it and they created a company around it. You're fighting a couple of battles, right? People are hesitant to use it, people don't trust it, people are scared of it, everything, and you're just like, let's just do it anyway. I mean,
Well, besides that, yeah, it's the idea of using information to make better decisions. Who's against that? Okay.
yeah.
My main problem is people who try to mystify it, like it's, oh, you couldn't understand that. It's AI. It's like you've got to have a PhD or something. And it's like, no, we're going to take a bunch of data, we're going to run it through a computer, and it's going to tell us, it's going to find stuff. That's it. That's it. Don't over, you don't have to understand the math.
Yeah.
It's okay. And
So
it's not going to take over the world. And Schwarzenegger should, apologize for making Terminator because it's done me more harm. I swear I get a what it was it net something Skynet. I get a Skynet question about once every couple of months. It's like, is this like Skynet? Is it going to kill my grandchildren? And it's like, no, it's okay.
That's funny. I don't know. I haven't gotten one of those yet. We're an AI company too. That's pretty funny.
Uh,
That's hilarious. So, how did you get into, you've been a computer person
um,
your whole life
I
or?
certainly can't claim that I invented AI,
Uh-huh.
but I go back 27 years in AI. Um,
Really?
yes. I've
Wow.
been chasing big data, and in the late 1990s, big data outstripped the ability of me to do things with statisticians and
Mm-hmm.
regression and things like that. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
put 10,000 variables through a regression. It'll chunk for years. Anyway, so I was over in Switzerland doing some work at UBS Bank, and a bunch of us were sitting around, and it's like, hey, I've heard of this new type of software. It hadn't even been named AI at that point.
Oh.
And let's take it for a test drive. So we created a little toy, if you will, AI, and we found a textbook that gave an example of using regression for detecting recurrence of cancer, and it
Oh, wow.
actually had a data set. So we took our little toy AI and we fed in the data set, and we beat the result in the textbook. And we did it in 3/4 of a second. So it's
Wow.
like, oh, okay, this is worthy of further investment. So 27 years later, I've watched, and AI is now, a household word practically. Um, but along the way, I have had people actually threatening me. I was presenting my AI, and I remember somebody pounding on the table and screaming obscenities at me, saying, I don't want to hear another effing thing about
Hmm.
that. Speak to me in pure mathematics. And I was like, just showing you some software, nothing to get
Yeah.
excited about. But some people did get excited who were a little threatened by change. So that was many
Yeah.
years ago, but that's just been along the way, learning along the way. And we're continuing to improve upon it, in that you don't have to write this down, but one size does not fit all. So I cannot build a model that incorporates Malibu, California and Montgomery, Alabama in the same model as far as
Right.
real estate. So we have to explode the United States. Currently, we explode the country into 56 pieces. They're not geographically contiguous. We may have Lexington, Kentucky, and Burlington, Vermont in the same sort of mini cluster kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
we break things down into 56 pieces and build a different model for each of the pieces. So Malibu may be um, Hilton Head and Malibu may come together or something, right?
Oh, okay.
Um, and that's where we're going. I've got a team in Ukraine. Hopefully they're safe, and they are programming a next generation AI where it automatically tries different ways to split the data set and build separate models. And we think that we can build even better models and digest even more data by doing that. So that's where it's going.
That's where it's going. That's awesome. It's yeah. The fun thing about AI is it learns, right? So
Yes,
it's not dependent upon a human to force the change. It can force its own change, right? Or
it
learn
can. It
and then
can
update
discover.
itself.
It can
Yeah.
discover things. I mentioned before that we read in MLS listings and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and it learns, and we create new variables. So the word stainless is in fact a variable.
Mm.
Does stainless appear in this MLS listing? In which case we know it's probably got stainless steel appliances and blah blah blah. Um, the number of words in the MLS listing. If a real estate agent really is not impressed by a house, they don't go on and on and on about this and that and the, fancy
Yeah, that's
bathrooms.
true.
And they just put down the bare minimum and, whatever. So the AI counts the number of words in the listing. And if it's only got, I don't know, 30 words or something, it's a dog and it's not going to sell too much and it's going to take forever to sell. So
Yeah, 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 for sure. No, that's
anyway,
great. That is super, super cool. So you're starting residential and with home builders, kind of going
yes,
there.
we've been doing this for 5 years now as far as the real estate space. We
Mm-hmm.
predict every month for every house. Will it sell in the next 90 days? Will it be turned into rental property in the next 90 days? Will it be flipped in the next 90 days? If it's turned into rental property, what rent will it fetch? Um, we
Okay.
predict for all the apartment buildings, will they be sold and so forth.
Right.
So that's sort of our core business. We predict lots of things for uh, lots of people now. And now we are focused as far as the next step in our growth on the Builders Consortium, where we hope bunches of builders are jealous of what Lennar is up to, and they want a stick as big as Lennar has.
So, but I was in construction. I don't know if you know that,
Yes.
but I was a
Cool.
general,
I need to pick your
I
brain
was,
more.
yeah, I was a general contractor and we didn't keep good data records.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you
this,
know,
you've hit upon one of the weaknesses here. If it could be that we have to focus on the builders that build more than 100 properties or something, where
yeah,
it's simply keeping it in a file drawer is simply impracticable, and therefore they've moved to computers. I don't
right.
know where that magic place is. Certainly,
Yeah,
if somebody builds one, they're probably not going to set up computer systems for the
right.
one house they're building. So I'm not sure where the cutoff point is going to be, but
Mm-hmm.
we will
Well,
see.
it could be anybody who's using Procore or any other construction management
Yes,
software, right? Procore is kind of expensive, but
speaking of Procore, we have our land acquisition tool. We have that on the Procore website now.
oh,
So
you do.
yeah,
Look at that.
we've integrated it in with Procore, so they have many thousands of customers, and the customer can just wander over into their Procore marketplace or whatever I should learn what they call it,
Yeah.
and they can take our software for a test drive and say, okay, let's see, Burlington, Vermont. I want to find 20 acres near Burlington for blah blah blah, and it does its magic.
That's awesome.
Then
That is so
if they
cool.
want to subscribe, we've got a pretty cheap price on that. Like,
For sure. So, are you going to be, so you're going to use the AI to create certain solutions that you've identified in the marketplace, but you're not going to, are you going to go kind of be like a dev shop for a real estate company and build their AI solutions? Are you do
yeah,
both or?
yes, sort of to both. We have about 7 applications right now that we can run predicting, final sale price and how long we'll be on the market
Mhm.
and things like. So we have those, but we are listening very carefully to the market and to our early members of the consortium. And I keep hearing that estimates are a pain point. And from when I spoke at the Las Vegas show, the International Home Builders show in Vegas, and I heard it around there too. Estimates were a pain point and slowed and so forth. I think AI should be able to help with estimates too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
I don't know where.
we should chat because we're working on something like that. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I
yeah.
don't want to reinvent something, and
No, we haven't started, but we could
oh,
probably partner on it. So hey,
I'd
everybody, Project Genius Show, we're collaborating.
sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. I'd love to collaborate with you.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. Yeah, no, but estimating are a huge pain point, and I think, obviously prop tech is slow to the game. Real estate was slow to adopt technology. People were creating their own solutions because there was no tech available because nobody was chasing it. But construction is way worse. Like nobody's really building anything for construction. Even I've seen some of the construction estimating software, and I'm so sorry if I'm gonna you disparage your name, but they suck. They're horrible. I mean, and at the end of the day, AI will replace some SaaS companies altogether.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, basically,
But again, it's not the people's fault. It's
no.
this market is so fragmented.
Yeah,
You know, if you went out to for construction software or something, okay, here are 2,600 different companies for you to chase after
right.
just in the residential. And then there's the multifamily, and then there's the
Yeah,
commercial and so forth.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Now, the good news is $7 trillion market. It's a big place with lots of money floating around there, but trying to standardize my builders consortium may turn out to be very difficult because one of the key steps is standardizing the data. So if I get a accounts payable file from builder X and another one from Y, and they have nothing in common, then my idea of bringing it all together, it never comes all together. It becomes hundreds of little tiny accounts, none of which are terribly profitable
yeah,
because I've got to use a different database for
yeah.
Builder X and a different one for Y. I can't find the commonalities across them.
Yeah, it's the same thing that the MLSs suffer, right? So there's no national MLS. It's really local, like a regional MLSs.
Yes.
So that's why RISA was invented, was it's like, okay, and it's all real simple ideas, but you're gonna call it a bedroom, or you're gonna call it a living room, or you're gonna call it this. And so
Yes.
just agreeing on nomenclature, right?
Yes.
And calling it the same thing so that now we can actually compare the data, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's the hardest part about it is
Yes.
it's just that
And,
how
and
they're
we
creating the
may end
data.
up using AI in order to do that standardization. That is like, okay, I don't know what this field is, but it maps really well with this other. I bet they're the same. So we'll see.
We'll see. I know, but there's that whole that's the biggest piece about what we face too is on our data quality, making sure that the data is good and that this one person's not calling it something that's the same thing as, and just like I feel this pain coming. I
Mhm.
know it's about to hit me. And so I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so crazy now. But yeah, no, for sure. It's really kind of interesting. But it's super cool. I'm
Well,
glad. I
thank
mean,
you.
it's super cool what you're doing, and I can see where you can build out all sorts of fun things, like all sorts of crazy things around, and
I've got,
provide really cool insights. And it's a because not everybody has experience in AI. They might have experience in certain software applications or databases or whatever it might be. AI is a very specific skill set, and to understand how to use it for sure.
but the output can be
Right.
simplified. So
Yes.
if I'm turning out, like a price range, I can be doing all sorts of fancy stuff. But if
Hmm.
what the builder gets is, okay, you just built this house and we estimate it will be 575 to 610. That he doesn't have to know what the math is or what data or anything else. He just has to learn to trust that number.
Right.
And after he learns to trust it for a while, people being people will start defaulting to it.
Sure.
Okay.
They will.
It it's like one of the people I talked to 20 years ago about AI was Fair Isaac.
Hmm.
And their FICO score has just permeated the society such that I've got clients that have me do real estate related things, but they want it on a Fair Isaac scale of 400 to 800 or whatever. because people have gotten used to 400 to 800, and it's like, oh, 800, really good. Oh, well, you're at 500 kind of thing. That people start building this into the way they think, but it takes a while. So we'll see.
For sure. Well, thank you. This has been
You're
so cool.
welcome.
So yeah, so if anybody would like to get a hold of you, how could they do so?
Let's see, D Newell at swarmalytics.com or 828-206-4062. And I'm pretty close to this most of the time. So
That's
it
fabulous.
probably won't ring 3 times.
Ah, that's awesome. That is so, so cool. Well, thanks. This has been fun.
Thank you.
This has
Thank
been,
you for
yeah.
the invitation. I've enjoyed it. And one way or another, somewhere along the line, we're going to collaborate.
Yes, we will. For sure. We will. That's so awesome. Well, thanks
Okay.
again.
Thank you. See you later.